Indiana basketball recruiting under Darian Devries just keeps on getting better.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, and it is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On College for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Well, we've got a lot to go over on this Monday edition of Locked On Hoosiers. Indiana football snacks, 2 more commits in the class of 2026, still flirting with a top 25 class in the upcoming cycle. Plus, more visitors this week for Indiana basketball. We'll tell you why that's important, plus recap this past weekend. But the Hoosiers just continued to build momentum and put out scholarship offers. Darren Devries and this staff have continued to go out on the trail on the days that they're allowed, of course, and see as many names as they can, talk to as many kids as possible, and hand out scholarships. And now there's no limit, right? You can give out as many as you want to, and until you fill up a class of 26, 27, and beyond, you're just trying to get your name out there and trying to let all these kids know, hey, Indiana is a place that you want to be. And we're going to talk more about the kids who have already taken visits and the ones coming up this week. And that'll be today and a lot more on tomorrow's show as well. But the Hoosiers keep building momentum, and 2 more scholarship offers have been extended, and ones that Indiana just hasn't been a part of really at all. And that's what's so impressive to me is this staff and Darren Devries, they just don't care. And I say that in a way that they don't care that they weren't involved already. They don't care that they had all this ground to make up. I'm not saying they don't care like the previous staff did. I'm saying they don't care because they're going to do whatever it takes to be successful. That's what this new head coach is bringing to Indiana. So just be prepared. A lot of names on the show today. We're going to talk about 2 in this segment, 2 or 3 in the next segment for basketball, and then a couple more in football in the final segment. So just stick with me. We got a lot of names to run through, okay? So starting with a top 20 player in the class of 2026, Indiana has now offered a scholarship to Deron Rippey. He is Darian Rippey Jr. He is a 6'2", 175-pound point guard in the class of 2026, someone who is a consensus 5-star, depending on where you look. 247 says he's a consensus 5-star. He is a highly ranked 4-star, okay? 97 overall, according to them. He's a top 20 player in the class of 2026. 18 is where they have him at the moment, but he's also considered a top 5 point guard in all of high school basketball in the class of 2026. Some of the other offers that he has: Auburn, Alabama, Creighton. I mean, he has offers from everywhere, and the Hoosiers have jumped in on this kid. And talk about somebody that we need, man. Talk about somebody we could absolutely use moving forward. It's just the idea of Indiana recruiting a high-level high school point guard. I mean, we've got after him, right? We've recruited him. We just haven't gotten him as of late. And we've had to go to the portal, and some have been fine and some have not worked out as much. But, man, we need some high school kids who can ball at the point guard spot. And Rippey Jr. is that guy. He can shot create. He can really dish it out to his teammates. He can run the floor. He's athletic as everything for 6'2", 175. He just kind of works his way into the lane, and it really doesn't matter if you're there or not. He can just kind of get it over you, get it under you. He can do whatever he needs to do, and then he can also shoot it from the mid-range, shoot it from the outside, holds his own on the defensive end, but my goodness, he just kind of does everything. He always seems to find himself around the basketball, whether that's scoring, helping his teammates score, rebounding the basketball. He's just always there, and I think his IQ is really, really high, which is what makes him one of the best point guards in all of high school basketball. He's from New Jersey, again, class of 2026 for Darren Rippey Jr. The Hoosiers have jumped in on him. Now, do we have an official visit or anything set up? As of this moment, no, we don't. but you're going to try and get that. You're going to try and be on that list of places that he wants to go, and a place that he wants to check out and try. And he's talked about his relationship with Indiana, and the fact that you are just trying to make up some ground here. That's what Indiana's going to do with one of the best point guards in the country. So there's one that Indiana has extended an offer to. This has been within the last couple of days, okay? Late last week into the weekend, and now here early into this next week. But the other one, complete opposite. We talked about a 5-star point guard, right? At 6'2", 175. Let's go to the other end. Right, let's go to the other end of the position groups with a 7'1" center. That's right, Arafan Diane. Okay, Arafan, Arafan Diani, Diane. I know it's a little different. He's from Africa. It's got a little different pronunciation, but that's what it is. Arafan Diane, 7'1" center in the class of 2025. He's considered a top 25 player. 247 has him at 23rd in the 2026 class. Other places may have him kind of higher or lower. It just kind of depends. But he's been playing his high school ball in Iowa. I think he's played in Canada a little bit too. But the Hoosiers have offered him out of the state of Iowa. Folks, he's the best center in the country. He's the #1 ranked center in all of high school basketball for the class of 2026. He's played, obviously, in his home country of Africa. He's played over here. He's played in AAU ball. He's playing high school ball in Iowa. This dude is a bully, man. That's just what he does. He's 7'1", 260 pounds. He's got offers from everywhere in the country: Houston, Florida, Arizona, and now Indiana. Everybody has jumped in on this kid, and they want a piece of Arafan Diane. He is that dude. And he's got everything you would want from a dude who's 7'1", 260, okay? When he gets the basketball, just get out of the way, because if not, he'll just move you out of the way. He's just going to find a way to get to the basket. He uses his size. He uses his strength. He just moves people, and he gets to the rim. But he's got a little finesse in there too. He's got a little touch around the rim, and he can also shoot it from the outside. He's got some three-pointer in his game as well. I mean, you talk about somebody that is versatile. That's what Arafan Diane is. He is someone who is just going to make coaches love him. They're salivating at the idea of having this dude on their roster, okay? And so he has all of that, plus his defensive presence is unbelievable. He shut down one of the best centers in the country going to Georgia Tech the other day. I mean, he's someone who Indiana's been watching several times, and they've now jumped in on this sweepstakes as well. And so I understand. We've had these conversations before. There are many of you who get upset when we talk about offers and scholarship offers because, well, if they're not committed to the Hoosiers, then I don't care. You got to start somewhere. And I hope that I can get that kind of message across, because you have to start somewhere. And the fact that we have these guys to talk about, the fact that Indiana even knows who they are, is a huge step up from where we used to be. And look, you can like the previous staff or not. I don't really care. This is a new era, and we talk about names that are important that Indiana has a shot with. It's going to take some time, and it's going to be an uphill battle for both of these guys, for Rippy and Diani, and a whole lot more. But the fact that we're even going to see them flying to different states, driving to different tournaments, and seeing these kids and offering them scholarships and giving ourselves a chance, it's news. It's good. It's a good thing for us, for Indiana, and hopefully for the future of this program. And so are we going to get these two guys? Couldn't tell you, but Indiana started the process. And I think you're talking about two of the best players in the class, with Rippy at the point guard spot, a top 5 point guard, and now with Diani, the #1 ranked center in all of high school basketball. Hoosiers have offered a scholarship, and they're going to start working to get them on a visit and hopefully get them to commit to the Hoosiers. Well, speaking of visits and possible commits, we had one this weekend take a visit, and we've got more coming up this week here in Bloomington. We'll talk about who and why that's important coming up here, right here on the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like the NBA playoffs, and it's back on tonight. Game 5 is in Oklahoma City. The intensity, the buzzer beaters, the fans losing their minds. It's the kind of atmosphere you must experience live. And this year's matchups are already delivering. If you want in, Game Time makes it fast and easy to get seats, even for the biggest of playoff games. Prizes on the app actually drop closer to tip-off. And with killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat views, and no surprise fees, Game Time is a total game changer. Look, if you're looking to go to Game 6 in Indianapolis, Game Time is where you need to be. That's all you need. Game Time is the place to go. Get on there right now. Go check out the seats. And again, the ticket prices do drop closer to Game Time. So if you're going to be hanging around downtown Indy, just keep checking Game Time. See if the ticket prices get a little bit better. Sneak your way in and make sure you are able to hopefully witness a little bit of history for the Pacers. All right. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's Locked On College for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. As we continue talking basketball recruiting, more on football recruiting in the final segment with 2 commits for Curt Cignetti, as they just continue to stack the 2026 class. But more on that in just a little bit, because we know that Indiana just had a visitor this past weekend for basketball, and there are more coming up this week here for Indiana, right? And so we know that you just had Sammy Jackson, who visited this past weekend. And as of this recording, okay, as this is coming out on Monday morning on June 16th, there was no commitment from Sammy Jackson. That's okay. We weren't overly expecting that to happen right away. But if you do remember, I did make a prediction last week between Sammy Jackson visiting and then the kid you have coming in this week. I am predicting a commitment. I am predicting Indiana to get somebody within these first 3, if not just in the month of June altogether. I just feel that is going to happen for the Hoosiers. And I do truly believe once you get one, then many more will follow. Reminder, Sammy Jackson is the 6'7" guard who was in today. Top 100. He's floating around 95 or 100, depending on where you look. 247 says 96. I've seen On3 have him a little bit lower than that, but that's where he is. He was on campus this past weekend from the 13th and 14th. So that was Thursday and Friday late last week. And so we will see if that ends up happening for Indiana. But he's one of many that the Hoosiers are going to be having on campus, because coming up on Tuesday and Wednesday are 2 of your biggest visitors in this very, very early Darian Devries era. You're going to have Latrell Almond, number 47 class, or ranked in the class in 2026, the 6'8" power forward, one who is being recruited by every single team in the country from Virginia. I love this kid. I love Latrell Almond. He is one of my favorite players in the class of 2026 because he just has everything you want from somebody who's 6'8" at the forward position. He plays like a guard, but he's got the size of a forward and can shoot it with the best of them. I mean, this dude has it all. He's athletic. He can defend. He gets up and down the floor. He just does everything right. And he's going to be taking his official visit coming up this week on Tuesday and on Wednesday. And if you remember, he will not be alone. He will not be alone because Luigi Suigo, the 7'3" center from Italy, you remember him? He's going to be on campus at the exact same time, 17th and 18th, Tuesday and Wednesday. They'll be on their visit at the same time. I don't think that was planned. I think that's just kind of how it worked out, especially with Suigo having to deal with a lot of the overseas type of stuff. But you're going to have them here and have a chance to really make a good impression. Now, some of you may say, well, why did we offer Diani that you just talked about if we have Suigo coming in? They're both the class of 2026, right? Well, yeah, but you don't put all your money in one stock and hope that it just rises and makes you a millionaire, right? No, you spread it around and you cover yourself and you make sure that if one option doesn't work, you have another option to go to. That's what Indiana's doing right here. And if one of them commits, then the other one will go somewhere else. And that's just kind of how it works. Or, my God, you may land both of them. I don't know. You may have a chance to get both 7-footers if you are really lucky. I don't think that would happen, but hey, it's a weird world out there sometimes, right? So you have those two guys coming in this weekend, or not this weekend, this week rather. Latrell Almond and Luigi Suigo. We talked about Suigo. Again, he's 7'3", the Italian center, who of course can be a rim protector, yes, but man, his touch and finesse around the rim is just incredible. Him and Diani play completely separate styles. Diani's just a bully. I'm going to use my power, blunt force, and just go right through your chest and get to the rim. Suigo says, yeah, that's cool, but we don't really teach that in Italy. We teach a little finesse and we're fancy with it, right? We're going to get to the rim and we're going to do a little turnaround floater, do a little hook shot like back in the day. Can also shoot it from outside a little bit too. And so that's the difference in those two big guys. And then with Latrell Almond, I mean, he's going to be one of the best power forwards in the country, or he is in high school recruiting, but he will be at the college level as well. And so you have those two guys coming in, and don't forget the Prince Alexander Moody, who I know has fallen in the recruiting rankings as of late. I still think he's a really good player. He's going to be on campus coming up in just a couple of weeks. And so very active for Indiana, very, very active for Darian Devries and this staff, not just getting them on campus, but like I've said, going out and seeing these kids, watching them play in all these big tournaments and events, and just communicating and showing face and building those relationships. And in a lot of instances, rebuilding those relationships with a lot of these kids. And I'm still standing by my prediction here. I think Indiana lands one of these guys. I think Indiana, between Sammy Jackson, Latrell Almond, Luigi Suigo, or even Prince Alexander Moody, within the next week or in this month, Indiana's going to get one of them. And it could be somebody that we don't even know. It could be someone random who comes in for a last-minute OV and decides that Indiana is where they want to be. I'm just telling you, hard work pays off, and it's going to pay off for this Indiana staff. And even if I'm wrong and nothing happens here in the month of June, I'm telling you the Hoosiers are going to have a good class. How big will it be? I don't know. How many players will be there? How many top 25 players or top 50 guys will be in it? Couldn't tell you. We're just going to have to wait and see. But this will end up being a solid class. There will be more than one player in it, I can promise you that. And that's what the difference will be from years past to what we're going into this year. So very excited for hopefully some more positive news from the Sammy Jackson visit. I have not heard a whole lot about it. So we'll see where that goes. And then Latrell Almond and Luigi Suigo on campus this week, and then Prince Alexander Moody coming in next week. And we'll see if Indiana can start lining up any more official visitors and just get one commitment, because more will follow. I'm telling you, that's how this thing works, man. And I'm still predicting that Indiana finds one somewhere coming up very, very soon. All right, coming up in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, we'll flip over to the football side because they are getting commits. And Kurt Cignetti and this squad, they're on fire, man. They continue to get commit after commit after commit. We'll talk about two more that they landed late last week right after this here on the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. All right, final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you again so much for being here and getting your week started with us if you are watching or listening to this on the day that it comes out on a Monday. And we appreciate you being with us in the middle of June as we are so close to the start of football season. You got media days coming up, and then fall practice will begin, and then all of a sudden, boom, Indiana's back on the field, and we're getting this thing started in the 2025 campaign. And so really excited for what all of that holds. And then, of course, basketball season right around the corner as well. And so if you are listening on audio, just really quick, if you're on Spotify or Amazon, Apple, however you listen to the show every single day, make sure that you are following us on there. You've got those notifications turned on, and send it to somebody. Send the link of this show to somebody who doesn't already listen or somebody you haven't sent it to yet. We want this thing to grow and have as many people here every single day as possible. So thank you so much for doing that and all of your support. And for my YouTube watchers, you know the drill, right? Hit that thumbs up and like the video. Tells YouTube you like what's going on and you want to see more of it. Leave your thoughts down in the YouTube comments on football recruiting, basketball recruiting, or just summer thoughts if you have any of those. And then subscribe to the channel if you have not already. All of those things help the channel grow tremendously. So thank you so much for doing that. Well, as I mentioned, we keep talking about basketball and waiting on a commit to show up, right? Waiting on somebody to take a chance on the Hoosiers in the class of 2026. Football, they don't have that problem right now. They continue to get big-time players after big-time players. The Hoosiers, after landing 2 more late last week and this weekend, are now up to 16 commits in the class of 2026. According to 247, again, if you haven't picked up, and I tell you this, they're the ones that I use. I think they're the most reliable and just on a national perspective in terms of their recruiting numbers for football and for basketball. Use whoever you would like. But they have Indiana as the 26th ranked class right now. A couple of teams picked up some commits over the weekend as well. But the Hoosiers up to 16 commits in the class of 2026. That is 3 4-stars and 11 3-stars. And that's because the Hoosiers picked up 2 more 3-stars in the last couple of days. We'll start. And hey, both of them from right here in our state. Both of them are in-state kids. We've talked so much about how there are several states represented. I believe we're up to 8 now that are represented in the class of 2026, but the Hoosiers have stayed home and landed a couple of big-time players right here in the Hoosier state. We'll start with an offensive lineman. Can never have too many of these guys, and especially when they're 6'6", 325. Think about that. That is correct. I didn't misread it. I didn't misspeak. 6'6", 325 pounds. His name is CJ Scifres, and he is somebody who is from, again, right here in the state. He's from Center Grove. He's an offensive lineman, considered an interior offensive lineman, somebody who is going to play, of course, on the inside. And so, man, you just start looking at his film, and that's what he played in high school. He just pancakes people, man. He just moves them out of the way, and he just takes up space at 6'6", 325. The dude is a monster, okay? He was technically the 15th commit for the Hoosiers in this class. He's someone who is only going to get better. His footwork is pretty solid. He moves really well for a guy his size. And again, just people don't really get through him, man. They just don't get by him. They don't get through him. And the amount of pancakes I saw in his high school highlights are pretty incredible. So you don't fake that amount of size. You can be slow at that size. You cannot move properly at that size. Your technique cannot be good at that size, but I didn't see any of that with him watching it on film. I think CJ's got everything you need to have the potential to be a power 4 offensive lineman. And so you can never have enough of these in terms of what he's going to bring, and the fact you have depth now. You're continuing to build in this class for 2026. And so just looking at what Indiana has by adding Scifres, okay, by adding him, he's somebody who now, in terms of what you have, he is 1, 2, 3, believe that's it. 3 so far, 3 offensive linemen in your class of 2026. 2 of them considered tackles. He is the one who is considered, actually Sam Simpson's considered an inside offensive lineman too. So Kitten Mondo is the only one considered a tackle. He's the one that's 6'7", 315. Good Lord. These guys are just insane. And then Sam Simpson, 6'4", 285. So you've got some size all over the place on that offensive line. So CJ was the first one to become the 15th recruit, or 15th commit rather, in the class of 2026. And then you stay right here at home. You go to Parker Elmore and you get yourself a receiver. He's considered an athlete, okay, is this commit, but I believe Indiana's recruiting him as a tight end. And you go and get Parker Elmore, you go and pick up this kid just right down the road in Columbus, Indiana. You go and get Parker. He's considered an athlete in all of his recruiting rankings. He's 6'5", 225 pounds. Word on the street is that Indiana is getting him as a tight end. Okay. And so you add him now as a 16th commit in the class of 2026. He's got an 87 rating on 247. So he's flirting with a 4-star rating overall. Had some offers from some smaller schools, some in-state schools as well, but places, I think Iowa was starting to get involved a little bit here, and a couple of other smaller P4s, and a lot of group of 5 teams were interested. And look, he wanted to play at home, and Indiana felt that he was good enough to compete here and good enough to earn a spot on this team at some point. And so you go get Parker Elmore on this squad, and now you have 16 commits for the class of 2026. And I love that both of these are from right here in the state. We have talked with Brian Smith. We've talked between you and I about, look, you got to get out and go recruit your surrounding states, your Ohio's, Illinois, Wisconsin's, Kentucky's. I mean, you got to go recruit these states, but you also got to lock down your home state as well. And that's what you're doing. You're just making sure that you continue to get in-state kids. You never want the reputation to be, well, I play high school football in Indiana, but I can't go play to IU. They don't want us. That's not what you want. You don't want the reputation of that. So going and getting somebody like Elmore, going and getting someone like CJ, that just further proves you want kids from this state. You can't build a whole roster on it, unfortunately, but you got to continue to hold that fort down. And I think that's exactly what Indiana did. You go get Parker Elmore from Columbus. You also get CJ Scifres from Greenwood. He played at Center Grove. Parker plays at Columbus North. And you get 2 more additions to the class of 2026. And I'm telling you, the Hoosiers aren't done. I expect 25 plus in this class. I really, really do. But the month of June has been awesome. I mean, we didn't go 2 days. In the last 2 weeks, we have not gone 2 days without getting a commit for football. When's the last time we've seen that? When's the last time we could say that about Indiana football? They're just building up, man. They just continue to grind. And don't get caught up on them being 3 stars. I'm telling you, don't get caught up on that. They're going to be good players. And this team is building with quality and with quantity. They're just doing it slower. They're building what they can. They're getting what they can. And they're continuing to stack talent. It's a good thing with what's happening with Kurt Cinetti. You just flipped a dude from Louisville the other day. That's a big deal. It's a really big deal. And it's also important to get kids from right here in the state. And I think Indiana's recruiting class will still end up being top 25. Even if it's technically not right now, depending on where you look, I think it will end up being that way. And that is something to celebrate on the football side of things here at Indiana. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here again, making this your first listen, your go-to spot for everything Indiana athletics. And we are excited for what this week has to hold. Big-time visitors for basketball, maybe some commitment news in there as well. And if this trend keeps up, we'll have a new football commit by tomorrow. And so we're talking all that and more on another episode tomorrow right here on Locked On Hoosiers. Okay, so until then, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.